Today on Judge Faith. Did these tenants rent a condo?
I would hear scratching at night and I'd wake him up and say, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Or a nest?
I'm not denying that they had a rat.
We had like 12. I wouldn't do the laundry. I made him do it. We called it the rat zone.
How do you think the rats were getting in?
I don't have an answer for that.
I lived in New York for 10 years. New York has as many rats as it does people. I never had a rat once.
And later, what happens in Vegas
She went to Vegas because she knew that she owed me money for the rent.
ends up in court.
She told me that she gambled all her money away.
So you were gonna go try to gamble, try to make some money.
But I wasn't gambling my money.
Everybody always think they're gonna hit it big.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor, and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real, and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiffs KAITLYN and Ryan OUELLETTE say their former landlord never fixed their pest problem and now won't return their deposit. They're suing for the full refund of their security deposit. Defendant Grover Taylor claims the plaintiffs never gave him the large security deposit they're asking for. He's countersuing for lost wages.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this case is OUELLETTE versus Taylor.
Thank you, Barbara. KAITLYN OUELLETTE and Ryan OUELLETTE.
Yes.
You are suing the defendant Grover Taylor
Yes.
for $1,500, the return of a security deposit.
Yes.
And you are countersuing, sir, for $500 for lost wages?
Correct.
Okay, we'll start with you. Tell me what's going on here.
Sure. We know Grover because he was our neighbor prior to moving into the property that he rented to us. So when we lived in Somerville, he was our next door neighbor, and somehow he found out, through word on the street that we were looking for a new apartment, and he said, hey, I have this great place in Cambridge, come look at it. And so that's how we know him.
So would you consider you all to be friends before they became your tenants?
We were friendly neighbors, I would
Friendly
say.
neighbors?
Neighbors.
Okay, all right. So why don't you...
I was always friendly.
Okay, so why don't you tell me what happened here?
We initially asked him if we could just give him $500 instead of the full month's rent, which is $1,500. He said, what you can do is you can give me increments of $500 over the next 3 months to make $1,500 if you can't come up with the full $1,500.
To pay the security deposit?
Right.
Is that the conversation that you recall?
No conversation at all.
Oh, okay. You're saying there wasn't
That'd
a
be
conversation,
weird that
or
you wouldn't
don't?
have a conversation about.
Hold on one second. Are you saying that you don't remember, or there was no conversation about a security
They
deposit?
begged and pleaded that they could not afford 3 months' rent. And typically I charge a $500 security deposit, but they paid no security deposit. I have the bank records, I have their proof of their checks.
How do you say you paid the security deposit,
So
cash
we
or
paid
check?
in cash. I remember I had run out of checks. I remember going to his pizza shop and giving him cash and him saying, oh, you came up with the money, you came up with the $1,500.
Did you get a receipt?
We didn't get a receipt.
At the
but
moment,
again,
we didn't have checks.
I know.
And we did not get a receipt.
And you didn't go to the bank and get a money order? Or...
No, so then, anyway, fast forward, come when we realized that we weren't on the same page, he asked if we had bank statements, which we do, but...
Okay, so you lived in this apartment for 2.5 years. What was it like to live there?
So everything was okay until it started to get cold. I don't remember the exact day. I would hear scratching at night, and I'd wake him up and say, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And he was like, oh, I don't know. And then we got traps just to see if anything would be caught. And lo and behold, we did have a rat problem, so...
Did the prior tenant complain about having rats?
Never had a complaint previously. And my tenants typically stay 3 to 4 years.
Like, how many rats did you see?
So we caught probably, I don't know, maybe 2 before the exterminator came. Then once the exterminator came, they filled up some holes. There was no rats for a few months. And then, again, they would start coming again. It was like they'd just find a way, and I don't know how they came in, but they just kept coming in. And basically, over the whole time we were there, it was never really resolved. And I think he probably did try, but it never really was resolved.
Right.
How many times did I hire an
Do you know how
exterminator?
many...
The
excuse me,
exterminator
do you
came
know how
twice,
many...
but it never...
So
fixed
you
anything.
never discovered the issue? Usually if there are rats, that means there's a hole.
I replaced the door, I filled holes.
How do you think the rats were getting in? They're getting in from somewhere.
I don't have an answer for that.
Coming up on Judge Faith, did the defendant forget to turn on autocorrect?
Your story is changing.
How's my story changing, Your Honor?
Because you told me 2 minutes ago they never gave me a security deposit.
Typo.
I checked my records.
A typo in a text message.
This entire text message is a typo.
Yes.
And later, Judge Faith starts fishing for some answers.
I met someone online and we started dating.
Which one? Plenty of fish? I'm just curious.
It was actually a site that she told me about.
If y'all knew the story with Plenty of Fish, trust me, you laughed too.
Plaintiffs KAITLYN and Ryan Ouellette say the defendant refuses to refund their security deposit. Defendant Grover Taylor claims the plaintiffs never gave him the amount of money they're asking for.
What's your explanation?
I hired an exterminator.
We have a
I bought
picture
the
of
bills.
the rat. If anyone
I'm not
wants to
denying
see
that
it.
they had a rat.
Yeah, we had like 12. It was. I wouldn't do the laundry. I made him do
They
it.
live
We
in the
call it
city.
the rat
It's
zone. Yeah.
Over
Gross.
100,000 people and 300.
I mean, but isn't the law...
Sir, wait.
I could have
Hold on
contacted
a
the
second.
Department of Public
Stop.
Health. Like,
Stop.
we were
Kim,
nice.
Kim.
I lived in New York for 10 years. New York has as many rats as it does people. I never had a rat
Maybe
once
they leave their door open.
in my building.
They leave their windows
The rats
open.
get in.
We
The
didn't
rats get in because there's some kind of hole.
They
There's
leave their
some kind of
windows open,
area.
Your Honor.
Let me see the photo. Do I want to see this photo?
That's a big one. One time there was a live one on a sticky trap that we had to like deal with. He was like the rat remover. It was gross.
No, it wasn't
I
pleasant.
could not have lived there for like a minute. Okay. But now what this is really about is when it's time for you to move out,
Right.
you say that he did not pay your security deposit back.
Yes, so we asked him for the security deposit back, and he said, I'll send you the check for $500. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, that's not what I recall.
You paid him a $1,500 security deposit. You say that never happened.
They never paid a security deposit at all.
That's not true,
Not zero.
Your Honor.
Zero
Yeah.
money. You say you didn't require a security deposit because
I know they were good
friendly?
tenants. They lived next. They were my neighbors for 3 to 4 years previous to renting a property from me.
So when they come
And
to
they
you,
were good tenants, as far as I can tell. Good neighbors, at least.
okay, so when they come to you and they say, hey, we're moving out, we want our security deposit back, what's your response?
After I checked the unit, I said that she was adamant about $1,500. I go, at best, I owe you $500.
Now, why would you think at best you owe
Because
them
I take
$500?
$500 security deposits from all my tenants.
Okay, so how did you get that resolved then if you weren't sure?
I checked my bank records first, which I brought with me, Your Honor, and I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and I asked her to show me a copy of the check that she gave me, and she's like, I gave you cash.
Something got disorganized, didn't listen, whatever happened, happened.
Well,
and
yeah, because the
many...
disorganization starts on this side of the room. Okay, because you say you paid a $1,500 security deposit.
Right.
Am I supposed to just take your word for it?
Your Honor, I'd ask
How do
them
you
for
prove
the
that
receipt.
to me?
So he then
I am more than
Right.
happy to order him to give you back your security deposit, but how do you prove to me you paid him a $1,500 security deposit?
So I took out $4,500 cash the week we
And that doesn't
outlived- I
tell
don't
me
take it.
what you did with the
Right,
cash.
I know, but that he asked for it, so that's why I got it. But
Okay, but now you're in court, and now you have to prove your case.
my other part of it is the text message
Let
from
me see
him
the text
saying,
messages.
I owe you.
Don't tell me what he said. Let me see the text message.
Your Honor, did you
He's
just, for the record, did you hear her say she took $4,500 out, but yet they needed, supposedly they gave me this in increments of $500 over 3 months?
No, we
500 was-
didn't do that.
no.
You said, oh, you came up with the $1,500. Yes, we did.
You write to them, I must say I'm very disappointed in you guys. I hope you end up with a very cheap apartment. I did my research. I owe you $500, which I'm more than happy to return to you with interest. You
So
what?
now it's clearly you're lying. Like,
Hey, I need you to
Miss-
stop talking. 2 minutes ago, they never gave me a security deposit.
Typo.
I checked my records.
A typo in a text message.
This entire text message is a typo.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so when you told me that they didn't pay you a security deposit, and you were sure because you checked your records.
She was not willing to take the $500. I would have taken the
So then you
$500
lied?
and
Your
just...
story is
They gave
changing,
nothing?
sir. Your story is changing.
What's that?
Your story is changing.
How's my story changing, Your Honor?
Because you told me 5 minutes ago They were friendly neighbors.
They were.
That's the reason you did not
Correct.
charge them a security deposit, 0.
Correct.
Then you told me, after she told you, they paid you a security deposit, you went back and checked. You have your bank records. They didn't pay your security deposit.
Well, you...
Then they give me a text message from you, and you say, I did my research, I owe you $500, and you're more than happy to return it.
Your Honor, I don't have an explanation, but...
That seems to be like
She was
a
unwilling to take
growing
$500.
theme here.
I just want... I'm in the pizza business. I just wanted them to go away for $500.
Okay,
You're in the
here's what
pizza
we're
business,
going
but
to
you're
do.
also in property management.
Here's what is your counterclaim about, sir?
Just for being taken to court and away from my business, I feel like I should be paid for my time if I win the case.
Okay, that's not how things work here.
Okay, Your Honor.
Because there is a text message, sir, I am ordering you to pay them the $500 you admit to owing them. Judgment for the plaintiff, $500.
Plaintiff Jenaya NORFLEET says when her friend moved to California, she helped her with renting a car and an apartment, but the defendant stuck her with the bills. She's suing for rental car fees, unpaid rent, and a traffic ticket. Defendant Nikisha Williams says the plaintiff is the reason she got in over her head with the payments, so she doesn't owe anything.
Your Honor, this case is NORFLEET versus Williams.
Thank you, Barbara. Jenaya NORFLEET?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant, Nikisha Williams,
Yes.
for $2,963 for an unpaid rental car, a ticket. Is that a traffic ticket?
Yes.
Okay. Credit card interest and rent. Okay, so we'll start with you, Ms. NORFLEET. Why don't you tell me what's going on? What happened here?
Well, basically, Your Honor, Miss Williams, she, like you said, lived in New York, and she called me one day and said, you know, she really wants to move to California, and she asked, you know, if she can live with me. And at the time I was living with my parents, my sister, she had my nephew, he was just born, so she needed some extra support. So she asked, you know, would it be okay if we switch places? She moves back in with my parents, and you know, I live in the apartment.
So you're basically taking over the lease
Yes, ma'am.
from your sister, from the apartment. And did the two of you come to an agreement about how rent and utilities would be paid?
The agreement was Nikisha would pay $750, I would pay $250 and cover the utilities.
Why was she paying $750? You were only paying $250.
Well, she was paying $750 because at the time I was unemployed.
Were you okay with paying $750?
In the beginning, yes, I was okay with it because, you know, as she said, she did take me in. She allowed me to stay with her and her family, so I was very grateful for that.
So when you moved to California, you didn't have a car.
Right.
What did you do for transportation?
I rented a car, but I didn't have a credit card, so I'd asked Jenaya if I could, you know, hold it with her credit card, but I would pay them in cash.
How much was a monthly car rental?
For the 2 months, I spent like $2,000.
Right, it was like $1,000 a month?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the third month, you said in your answer that you didn't feel you owed for the third month.
It was just really too much for me.
Well, what
I
was the
took on too
conversation
much.
you had with her about purchasing a car from her?
The only reason why I was renting was because I was supposed to purchase this car and I was never able to do so.
But you're not saying that you don't owe for the rental because she never sold you her car. Surely you're not saying that, right?
No, I'm saying that's one of the reasons that I don't feel like I owe her. I owe her, I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't on her card and I shouldn't pay her, but I'm saying that that's one of the reasons that I haven't paid.
Okay, all right. You're also suing for July and August rent.
Yes.
You say she did not pay July and August rent. What happened?
Well, she basically just disappeared.
What do you mean by disappeared?
I couldn't get in contact with her for several days. And when I finally did get in contact with her, she's like, oh, things have been crazy. I'm out of town. I'm in Vegas right now. I'll tell you about the story when I get back.
You were in Vegas?
I did go to Vegas.
Oh, okay. You just told me you didn't have any money. When people go to Vegas, I'm thinking they're going to party.
No, I was not there to party. I went with someone who was going to Vegas to actually try to help me out. But,
What does that mean?
Coming up on Judge Faith, no pay, no stay.
I told her that, you know, I don't have the money. And then she's like, well, you know, obviously you can't stay here. So I was like, okay, but she wouldn't let me get my things.
Is that true?
She came back and collected stuff.
Did you ever put her things out as she alleged in her answer?
Plaintiff Jenayya NORFLEET says the defendant stuck her with the rental car bill and stopped paying rent on their apartment. Defendant Nikisha Williams claims the plaintiff made it impossible to keep up with the bills.
Well, I didn't have any money, so I went with a friend of mine, and they were going to try to get some money by at the casino to help me out, but I didn't go on my expense.
So you were gonna go try to gamble, try to make some money.
But I wasn't gambling my money.
Everybody always think they're gonna hit it big. They go to Vegas, they're gonna do the slots, and it's gonna make everything okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she was like, I'll come back, I'll be back in a day, da-da-da. She ended up not coming back for a whole week. She went to Vegas because she knew that she owed me money for the rent and plus for the credit card. So she went to Vegas to gamble the money and ended up losing $1,000.
But it was not my money. It was not my money.
But whose
I didn't
money
have
was
any
it?
money.
Whose money was it?
It was my friend's money.
So your
this
friend
guy
gave
she
you
met online.
$1,000 to gamble in Vegas to try to make money to pay your
He
rent
was
and
gambling.
bills.
I was not gambling.
Well, who were you staying with for a week in Vegas?
I met someone here in California, and we started dating. So
How did you meet?
We met online.
Which one? Plenty of Fish? I'm just curious.
It was actually a site that she told me about. It was called
What's the
Plenty
name?
of Fish.
Plenty of Fish?
Plenty of Fish.
I knew it. I knew it. Everybody meets on Plenty of Fish. If y'all knew the story with Plenty of Fish, trust me, you laugh too. Okay, you come back from Vegas and it's early August.
Yes.
What happens?
I told her that, I don't have the money and that I would pay her back, but then she's like, well, obviously you can't stay here. So I was like, okay, but she wouldn't let me get my things.
Is that true?
She got her things several times. She came back and collected stuff and went to live, stay with him.
Did you ever put her things out as she alleged in her answer?
In October.
So from August through October, you tried to go back and she would not let you in?
Well, I only tried to go back that one time that she told me that she would not give it to me. So after that, I did not try to go back and get my things.
Is that true?
She came back. She got her stuff one time, and the next time she came back, no, I would not let her get her things. But this is the reason why, Your Honor. On her board, in her room, above her bed, she has a board. On that board, I see a ticket, and the ticket's in my name. And I'm like, what is this ticket? So I look at it, and it's a ticket on the rental car.
The ticket is not in her name because the ticket, it's a parking ticket.
But the ticket is on the rental car, which is in her name.
Right, and the credit
How
card
would
is
this
in my
ticket
name.
ever be associated with you?
It won't be, but it won't be associated with her either.
No, it is with the car, and the car is in her name.
Right, but it's a parking ticket.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a ticket.
Okay. With that being said, I already paid her back for
I'm just
that.
curious.
Yeah.
Who do you think they'll come to pay this ticket?
They'll come to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
But it's not in her name. What I'm saying is that it's not going to go on her
It
registration.
was in my name. It was definitely in my name.
Okay,
that's
but
what I'm saying.
when it's time to pay the ticket, you just said what I know and what she knows, they're going to, and if it doesn't get paid, it's going to be a problem for her.
And I paid her back for the ticket.
No, you never paid me back for the ticket.
I gave you $100 in cash.
Listen, if you're going to keep saying you gave people cash, that's going to be a problem for you.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
Where do you live now? With Plenty of Fish guy?
No.
Are you still with him?
No.
Here's what I'm going to order you to pay. Because I know you're in California, you come out here, you want to have fun, you're on Plenty of Fish, you're going to Vegas, you're doing all these things, but you got to pay your bills too, all right?
Absolutely.
So you owe for the car rental, I believe you owe for July and August rent, and I'm also going to order you to pay for the traffic ticket. That's a total judgment for the plaintiff in this case in the amount of $2,645.90. Verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck.
If you or someone you know has a dispute, don't take the law into your own hands. Let Judge Faith rule on it for you. To submit your case, go to judgefaith.com and tell us your story.